Love relationship advice for women on the spiritual path. Hello, this is Shores of Infinity with 2 videos about love relationship, one for women, one for men. Women first. Of course, I'm not a woman, but there are some general things about human beings that are always true. And some general things about spirituality and enlightenment that are always true. And there are tiny little differences between men and women. And I will start with the women. And also in general, there are things that usually go wrong in relationships that are both true for men and women. The first thing is that usually we are not free from our parents. So that should be the first step, to become free from our parents. It's not anything negative against our parents, but we do things unconsciously or half-consciously that our parents did. Or we do the opposite, which is both mechanical. But usually, especially in stressful or unknown situations, surprising situations, we react similar to our parents. So that is why Freud said, in a bedroom, usually there are not 2 people, but 6. The 2 lovers and their 2, respectively, 4 parents. Genetically, we are, to a large degree, our parents, and our parents have been our role models. Or if someone else raised us, those people have been our role models that we will mimic to some degree if we want or not. So it's a good thing to get free, independent from that. Family constellation, for example, is a good tool. But this unconscious mimicking of our parents, or trying to do the opposite what our parents did, leads to problem number 2, which I call who's in charge. As soon as the question arises, who's in charge, who has the last word, the relationship is already dying and love is receding. No one is in charge in a relationship. A relationship should always be on eye level with total respect for one another. It's an adoration of the other. You don't have to understand your loved one, you just have to love him or her and give your total respect and adoration. Serve. But both partners have to serve the other one. This can't be a one-sided thing. But what usually happens is that we look for something in our partners. We expect something. We need something. Yeah? Needs and expectations are never a good thing. But if we need our partner to be like our mother, or like our father, or sister, or twin, or son, or daughter, or see him half-consciously or unconsciously as a father or mother substitute, or son or daughter substitute, or twin substitute, you're screwed. The relationship will not work. Your love relationship partner is neither your son, nor your daughter, nor your father, nor your mother, or grandfather, or grandmother, or uncle, or aunt, sister, brother, twin. No. He or she is whoever he or she is, and it's good like that. We have to accept our partners as who they are. It's not their job to fulfill our expectations, our needs, or any roles we imagine them to fill. And women especially, they have to look out that they don't see their male partners as children. Then it's over. If that happens, it's over. Men have something very playful, which is funny at first and then can get on your nerves later. And then you have the feeling that it's just a boy, it's not a real man. But there's something to work on that. If you have the impression that your husband is your 3rd child, it's time to do some kind of therapy. High time, probably a little bit late already. So the who's in charge game is actually, the underlying thing is your expectations and needs that are not met. And then the struggle starts, who's in charge. So the important thing here is to find out what are your needs, what are your expectations. And not only your intellectual expectations and needs and wants that you tell yourself, but also emotionally, instinctively, physically, unconsciously, your blind spots. That's the interesting thing about speed dating. Sometimes, or very often, people are attracted to very different men and women than they think they are. They think, oh, it doesn't matter, or, well, I'm attracted to, I don't know, blondes or whatever. But if people go, and when people go to speed dating, they're attracted to something else. It's much more instinctual. It's much more genetic. So find out what your body wants. What kind of partner does your body want? Then the third thing is fear of intimacy. That's a really, really big thing nowadays. Fear of intimacy. People want a partner, and once they have one, they're afraid of getting too close, of being found out somehow, or restricted, dominated. There's the fear that your personality is fading, is going away, that you yourself are dissolving into the space of your partner, that your partner is dominating the space, the energy, and you are vanishing. A lot of people have that, men and women, but women maybe a little bit more, because it's the time, still the time of emancipation. The last thing some women want is that freedom to be taken away again, which is of course very understandable. But if your partner is a real man, he doesn't want to take your freedom away. He doesn't want to dominate you. He doesn't want you to vanish. He wants a real woman as a partner. He wants to respect you, serve you, love you, protect you. And this protection is not anything negative. It's not that he feels that you can't take care of yourself. It's just what men do. They like to protect their wife and their family. So just let him play the bodyguard. It's good for him. It's good for both of you. Well, if you have a partner who actually really wants to dominate you, just get rid of him. From one day to another. Goodbye. If someone abuses you emotionally or physically, just leave immediately. He will never change. Someone who beats you or gaslights you or whatever, he will not change no matter how much you love him. Go away. But if you have a fear of dissolving in any relationship, also with a real man who doesn't want you to vanish, who doesn't want you to be obedient and subservient and such, and you still feel threatened, then you have to work on yourself. So many women who kind of wake up, suddenly they cut all ties and go away. Sometimes this is possible, necessary, sometimes. But often it's an overreaction. And the last thing to say about this point 3 is it's all about personality. This thing about you vanishing and being dominated and whatnot, those are personality problems. Those do not have anything to do with the spiritual path. So they have to be solved first. If you have those kind of problems, solve them first and forget about spirituality for now. Spirituality and personality, they're two things that don't go together well. You need to develop a strong personality first in order to let it go later. Then number 4, identifications. A lot of people are identified with a certain role. Either as a wife or a daughter or a sister or a mother. Again, this is a personality problem. If you're identified with a certain aspect of yourself, yes, of course you are a daughter and you are a wife or partner and you are a mother and you are a sister and so on. But that's not what makes you you. There are millions, billions of mothers and sisters and daughters and wives. This is not something to identify with because it's not individual. And while it's a great and wonderful thing to be a mother, a miracle, it's not who you are. It's not the total of you, it's an aspect of you. So women tend to lose themselves in their role as a mother. That is why in Indian philosophy, both for men and women, the spiritual path starts when your children leave the house. It's very difficult to be a mother or a father and a spiritual seeker and finder at the same time, because the children are usually the focus, and this is also good. But once your children are adult, kick them out. They should live their own lives, and then you can worry about your spirituality and enlightenment. Don't have your children at home until they're 30 or 40 and do everything for them. Also, the other day, someone told me that I'm working so much and my husband still expects me to do all kinds of cooking and household. And well, that's your problem if you allow a treatment like that from your husband, that his expectations that he probably needs a mother because his mother used to do the washing and cooking and now the wife fulfills that role. If you accept that, okay, but that's not good. Also in many countries in Asia and Africa, it's normal to live in the house of your parents-in-law. I would not recommend you to do that. You can live nearby, but not in the house, because that's the house of your parents-in-law. So you're never in charge in your own house. That's horrible. Live next door if you want, but in a separate household. It is a good thing if your husband has a good relationship with his mother, a loving, respectful relationship, because that will make him successful, materially successful. It is a bad thing if your husband is completely dominated by his mother and she is still woman number one in his life. Once you're married, you are woman number one in his life. Once you're married. If you're not married, marry the dude or leave him. But once you're married, you're number one in his life, not his mother anymore. Otherwise, give him hell or leave him. Unless, there's one exception, where you, as the wife, are not number one. If he has children from a previous relationship, then they are number one. And you better accept it, otherwise the relationship won't work. Why? Because they were there before you. The ex-wife, no, that doesn't matter, but the children, yes. Which brings me to another similar topic, married men. Keep your hands off married men. If he's free, good. If he's not free, leave him alone. Nothing good can come out of it. And then have a look, why are or were you interested in that man? Either there's some identification, some attachment for you to dissolve, or you can see, okay, I'm interested in this type of man, and then look for one who is similar but not married. If you're regularly interested in married men, then there's usually a fear of intimacy or some father issue involved, if you like it or not. Then the next big issue, and while all of these issues are both for men and women, this one may be a little bit more for women. Your looks, your beauty. If you're identified with your beauty, the spiritual path is not for you. Because any identification, any attachment will be in your way, and everyone ages. No one is perfect, no one looks like Barbie, and everyone ages. So keep your hands off this Botox and lifting stuff and accept that your body will age. Beauty comes from within. Unless you want to be a bimbo, some sex object, walking sex object, you cannot be identified with the idea that something is not beautiful and you have to fix it somehow. That your nose is too long, your ears are too big, your eyelashes are too short, your lips are too thin. Lots of women are walking around like ducks now with their inflated lips. It looks horrible. No real man wants that. Or that your boobs are too small, or your butt is too big, or your thighs, or whatever, or your haircut is not perfect. You're the only one who is interested in that, and you're the only one who has problems with that. And you're the one who has to solve that. You cannot be identified with being ugly, or with being beautiful, with being a blonde or a brunette or whatever. It's good to take care of your body, to respect your body, maintain it as the temple it is, but it's not good to be identified with it. Eat well, wash well, exercise well, sleep well, that's enough. Why are so many people, so many women especially, obsessed with their external looks? Because women have been suppressed for thousands of years, and often beauty and lineage was their only trump they had, the only power. They had to assert some influence in life. Do you want a husband or a boyfriend who is in love with your body? No. You probably want someone who respects you for who you are, not just your boobs, no matter how beautiful they may be. But you have to do the first step. If you're not attached and identified with your beauty, then others won't be as well. So far, the common stuff that didn't have a lot to do with spirituality, only indirectly, now the spiritual stuff. A common scenario is as follows. A woman marries, has kids, and around 50, when the kids are older, the old interest in spirituality comes up again and becomes so pressing that something has to be done about it, and is done about it. Some courses maybe. And because you're already ripe for the plucking, it happens. Awakening happens. And then what? You're in this family context where your kids don't need you anymore, and your husband maybe gets you on your nerves a lot. There's not much rapport anymore. Everything is just routine. What many women do then is to just up and leave. At least their husband, not necessarily their children, but they usually perceive their husband as an obstacle, so they leave him as a way of emancipating themselves, becoming independent. But this is not necessary in most cases. It's necessary if the dude is a prick and you never had anything in common anyway. But in many cases it's not necessary. It's just you feel the need to escape and fly away, but it's not necessary. You can do that internally, you don't have to do that externally. What is definitely necessary is talking. Talk to your husband, what's going on, and if he's a real man, he will understand you to some degree. It's not his job to understand everything you say. It's his job to love you and to respect you and to support you. So he will understand to some degree what you're saying, and he will support you in whatever is good for you. If not, he might even either take a while or he will become an obstacle, and then you can leave him. Because for some people, the only reason they are together is of having and raising children. And once they're adult, you can separate. We are mammals after all. But know this, if real awakening happens, if you really disidentify with everything, disidentify with your emotions and your thoughts and your body, your opinions, your personality, which is what waking up really is, then you're in trouble. Any relationship you're in will be much more work, because you will be very aware, very conscious in the moment, and other people will tend to get on your nerves with superficial stuff that you can't take seriously anymore. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't be loving and respectful. Any relationship must be on eye level, loving, respectful, adoring, no matter if you have a personality or not. And unfortunately, in the beginning, your partner will probably not get what you're going through unless he went through it himself first. To your partner, what you're going through will look like some form of depression, most likely. Or maybe even some excuse that you're coming up with some cock and bull story to actually hide something. That is why sometimes it's better to shut up, which I've said many times in previous videos. But a relationship must be based on honesty, so at some point you have to cough up what you're going through, and then it's a gamble how your partner reacts to that. But it's not necessary to leave him right away. Try out first if he can go along. Because the crème de la crème, the pinnacle of spirituality, is not to be alone, but to continue in this dyadic cyclone, as John Lilly called it. To maintain a couple relationship as an awake or enlightened person is much harder and thus much more rewarding. Unless, of course, your husband has some kind of personality disorder like narcissism, then get rid of him immediately. The next thing that is very common is that many women don't know what they want. That's why this manifestation boom is booming now, with mostly female followers. Somehow it probably has been drilled into you as a little girl that what you want is what society expects of you. You have to be a good girl. That's what you hear all the time. Good girl, beautiful girl. So you think, okay, what I need to do is to be like this, to be well-behaved and beautiful. Some kind of doll or cleaning lady. But these times are over now. So I hope you don't have a husband who expects that of you. If, then leave him immediately. But because of this brainwashing, many women know what they don't want, but they have no idea what they want. So you have to find out what you want. And even harder than that, once you've found out what you want, you need to communicate it clearly, not indirectly with hints. Clearly, say what you mean what you say. It will make your life very, very simple. Say what you mean what you say. Don't intimate something and expect people to find out what you actually want to say between the lines. You can play this game with women, but don't try to play it with men. They don't get it. If you want something, say it, and your husband or partner will be very happy to make it happening for you. He wants to go out and slay the dragon and bring the gold and the flowers and whatnot. So instead of bickering and bitching and hinting, just say what you want and you will be done. And now the last thing I want to say, when your husband or partner wants to fix something for you, bring something for you, make something for you, buy something for you, whatever, it's not that he's some kind of stupid dog who plays fetch. He really wants to do that to prove his adoration and admiration and love to you. It's not that he's a weakling and obeys your every command, but he wants to please you. He wants to respect you and show his respect. At least a real man wants to. Not a weakling, not a psychopath, not some other duty. And you have to be ready for a real man. Many women, they choose unsatisfactory men because they're afraid to be together with a real man. They are maybe even attracted to weirdos and crazy people and dominating people. But once you clean a house, once you do the things that I said in the beginning of the video, at the latest then you will be attracted to real men who will do you good and with whom you can have a satisfying relationship on eye level, ideally both of you on the spiritual path. And this spiritual path does not have to be exactly the same, cannot be the same. He can have a different path than yours as long as the goal is the same. So don't try to change your partner, just feel out who he is. That's much more rewarding and much more fun. Both of you have to find out who the other person is. Another person is an infinite miracle. It's not something to be controlled or changed or dominated or improved upon. Everyone is perfect already, and the fun is to find out who the other person is and how we can live together in harmony. Okay, leave your comments below. Tell me if you're interested in these kind of videos. There will be another about men, of course. Thank you to all my Patreons. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for joining me as a Patreon, and see you soon.